Hey guys, it's the Kitchen Table Magician here, and I want to talk to you about brewing and deck building and just casually going through your card collections and running into things that you forgot you had and going, gee, I really always wanted to build a deck with that or try and do something with that, and just kind of the fun that can be had trying to brew something up. So I ran into this in my box of artifact cards, and it's something I've always wanted to build around. I just never got around to it. It's been in there for about 6 months or so. I got it in trade from a friend of mine that was over here. So I ran into it and I said, you know what? I got some time today and I'm going to go do that. So I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I hadn't given it any thought yet, but this is Door To Nothingness. It enters the battlefield tapped, costs 5, and then for 2 mana of each color, you tap it, sacrifice it, and target player loses the game. So this is the kind of stuff I love to try and build decks around and try and break. So step 1 when brewing is go find your cards and start figuring out what you can do with this. So if we step away from here for a minute, I am fortunate enough to own quite a few cards just over the years. I have a box here that I keep full. I have this divided by color and kind of alphabetically a little bit, so I kind of know where things are when I'm looking. That's one resource I have available. I have another drawer. I just keep a few miscellaneous things in here, some tokens, a few other cards, some leftover bulk from some things. I've got some bulk up here, and then over here I have some more boxes labeled multicolor and colorless. I have my cube sitting there, and I have another, the dragon stack. I'll talk about that in another video. That's fun. Down here I've got, this is all decks I've built. This is 20 plus years of deck building. Some of the boxes are labeled and some aren't. The ones that aren't are fairly new, and I'm not sure I'm going to keep them. This little box here is all commander decks and commander stuff. And then this isn't all mine. Some of this belongs to other friends. A lot of my friends keep their stuff here because they really only play on Friday night. So this shelf here belongs to a friend of mine, and then this shelf up here belongs to another friend of mine. And they just keep things here. But anyway, so first thing you do is go find your cards. So that's what I did. Alright, so after going through your card boxes, or going through my card boxes, not really knowing what I want to do or how I was going to do this, the most obvious thing to me was, well, generating 10 colors of mana. So let's try and do that. So I found some scuttlemates and a spectral searchlight. Now remember, this is just rough drafting at this point. You're just kind of trying to come up with some ideas. I found the obelisks from Shards of Alara, grabbed one of each of those. Prophetic prisms, which allows you to filter mana, and you get a card draw at the same time, so I grabbed 4 of those. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, can I generate 10 colors of mana? Is this going to be that big of a deal? And then also, I knew I needed to be able to go get the Door to Nothingness. And I only found 2 fabricates in my box of cards, but then I remembered I have the scraps from those tournament decks that my wife bought me many, many years ago, the World Championship decks, and there was 2 fabricates in there as well. Now these are the ones that have the funky card back, but that's okay because we're going to be sleeving these. So I found 4 of those, and then I'm like, this is probably going to be more of a control deck because I'm going to be trying to put this together. So what I want to probably do is just be able to counter things and hold down board states. So I did find a pair of icy manipulators in my artifact box. And then all manners of just weird counter spells that I hadn't used yet. These are arcane denials from alliances that counter a spell and get some card draw. Negates, I found 4 of those. Okay, fairy trickery. This is from Lorwyn days. It's literally 2 blue and a generic counter a spell, as long as it's not a fairy, and that spell is actually exiled. So that's actually decent. That's actually a pretty good counter spell. So I have 4 of those. And I got 4 remove souls that just counter target creatures. So I just grabbed all kinds of that stuff, figuring, okay, I can just sit and counter and counter and counter all day long while I'm doing my other thing. I'll have mana for days. I've got mana, all kinds of it in the deck. And then I just kind of rounded it out with, I found a little bit of white control. So I found a pacifism and some swords to plowshares from Ice Age, 3 of those, and a couple of dispels. And I thought, okay, so this is the rough draft. This is kind of how things might look or could look. So I built this, and then I rounded the mana base off with lands that were just all every manner of white and blue dual land you could find. So the blue red ones, blue black ones, white red, white, as long as they all had white or blue and then another color, I figured I should be able to put together 10 different colors, the 5 colors of mana that I need to crack the door. So that was the theory. And so I built that, and it was a miserable failure. It's very difficult to get to 10 mana to begin with, and then to have it be the colors you need as well is a feat that's almost impossible when you're actually playing against an opponent, even on a casual Friday night. So I scrapped that and rethought things a little bit, and then I remembered thinking to myself, I really need a way to get to the 10 mana, and then I need to be able to filter it to the colors I need. And then I remembered that I had this left over from Shards of Alara. This is from Conflux. I actually had a playset of these in my box of cards, and I'd forgotten about. So I went and found these. So this was the answer, and so I'll show you how the deck looks now in its second draft. So this is draft 2. It still needs some work, but at least now it wins about 50% of the time, which I'm happy with because, again, casual kitchen table magic, this is what I do. Any deck that bats 500 or more, I'm happy with. I'm not all about winning all the time. I'm just about having fun and playing with fun things. So still got the door, and I still got the 4 fabricates to go get the door. And now I've got the filter, the 4 Kaleidostones, which read 5, tap, sack this, and then add 1 color of each mana to your pool. So the idea is, between the 4 fabricates, you should be able to get your door and 2 Kaleidostones on the table and get yourself to 10 mana. And you don't care what color the mana is now because you can just filter it. And Kaleidostone is nice that it gives you a card draw when it comes into play as well. So that was the answer, that was the key, and it was there, and I just missed it the first time. So getting to 10 mana, still not an easy task, but I've come up with some ways to get there. I started with 4 Hedron Crawlers, and then I found 4 Everflowing Chalice in my box from World Wake. This is multi-kicker 2. Each time it costs 0, and then it's multi-kicker 2. Each time you kick it, you put a counter on it, and then it taps for generic mana according to the number of counters that are on it. So the first one usually comes into play with just 1 counter on it, but then after that, the rest of them have 2 or more. And then this little guy is from 4th edition, and I have 2 of him, and it's blue, tap, add 3 to your mana pool. So, and then finally I found 2 Temple of the False Gods in my box too. So these tap for 2 mana, but only if you control 5 or more lands. So I run these in the non-land slots in my deck. When I'm doing an initial deck build, I usually slot 20 spaces for land, and then I go up or down from there, make my adjustments on mana pool. So I'm running 22 lands in this deck, and 2 of them are Temple of the False God. So getting to 10 mana is still a bit of a chore, but I can get there fairly reliably now, and I don't care what color it all is. So then I just am rounding it off with some blue-white control. So I've still got the 3 swords and the pacifism. I put in another pacifism because I had a spare slot, so a little bit more board control works there. Not running very much counter magic because what I ran into on the first build was have a ton of counter spells, but that'll only get you so far. Stuff is still going to slip through the cracks. You're not going to counter everything all the time, and what does slip through kills you. So that's why I opted for more board control instead. But I still run the 2 Arcane Denials because of what I have laying around. Those are the 2 best ones. And a pair of Negates. So that's what I have for counter magic right now. And then I still am running the 2 Icy Manipulators for board state. And then I found a pair of Glacial Walls from Eternal Masters, 0/7 walls, to just sit there and block whatever gets onto the opponent's table. They can sit and block some big things. And I found a couple of Fog Banks, which are for the same reason, can just sit on the board and tie up the table long enough for you to get done what you want to do. And then I found 4 Serum Visions in that little box of leftover scraps from those championship decks. So I threw those in here too for card draw and just be able to set the deck a little bit. Outside of that, the deck has been rounded out with just blue and white, some blue and white duels, and then just land the blue and white. And so now I don't have to try and put this 5-color thing together. I just need 10 mana, 2 Kaleidostones, Door to Nothingness, game is over. This is still version 2. It's still a rough draft, but not as rough as it was. A couple of spots for improvement. I think I will actually take out the 2 Apprentice Wizards and find probably some more pacifisms to put in their place. These guys do okay, but more often than not, when I draw them, I kind of wish I drew some more board control. So I'm probably going to do that. I just don't own the pacifisms yet, so I'll have to go get them, or the swords, or whatever I choose to go with. So that's kind of brewing and deck building casually with what you got. Work up some ideas. If they don't work, scrap them, work them up again in a different way. And when you get something that you think you're happy enough with, then you can fine-tune it from there. So that's where this deck is. Now I'm just going to fine-tune it from here. And I will actually go out and find the pieces I need that I don't yet own. So, okay. So that's kind of milling and playing around with your cards casually. Thanks for watching. Bye.